All right, let's do this.
Greetings TTRPG fans and enthusiasts, I'm your host and narrator John, and today we are joined by Aaron, content creator of the Immovable Rod series, and welcome to Legitcast episode 16. How are you, Aaron?
I'm doing great, and so first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I've been following you for a while on TikTok, and I've watched a few of your interviews with other people. I was thrilled that you reached out and gave me a chance to talk. I think it's great that we see each other on social media on the short form, and so you just get little clips. So having the opportunity to get into depth with a lot of share our ideas is just a great opportunity. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, and congratulations to you. If people don't know you yet, there should be some links dropping on the Nightbot pretty soon. Hope it works here on our Twitch. But yeah, you have recently taken the TTRPG world by storm by introducing your series of DMs. Go ahead and steal this idea. Go ahead and use this idea. And each and every reel that you create basically can be like a one-shot story or something you can introduce to campaign. Lots of cool ideas, characters, locations, events. Before we get into all of that, which is going to be the main topic of our conversation, let's start with the name, Immovable Rod. It's one of my favorite two magical items of D&D. So how come you have chosen this name?
Well, I think because like you pointed out, it's one of the most fun magic items. And if you think about what's fun about D&D, if you go back and think about it, and sure, you've got this heroic fantasy going on, but it's just the crazy items that all break physics somehow. And it's just like watching kind of the old cartoons, the Looney Tunes, like Roadrunner and Coyote and that kind of thing, where it's just so fun and silly. But the other, at the other level of that, it's really simple, right? You just click the button and it fixes its position in three-dimensional space, and it's just there and you can't move it. Very, very simple in its concept, but the ways that you can execute on it over the years, I've seen so many different people. And then when I put up the video about it last month, all the comments, they all had their own ideas. So it's indicative also of the inherent creativity in tabletop role-playing games, how just ingenious that the players always are. And so yeah, it's just that. And it's just that for me, that's kind of what I'm trying to do is when I put out a video, it's like your immovable rod in story form. I want you to take what I'm throwing at you and use that to do something creative. It's not I'm saying do this story the way I'm telling you to do it. I'm saying here it is, now press that button and see what happens next, but it's up to you what happens next. And so it just kind of came to me when I was kind of thinking through it. But yeah, that's basically for me, it's D&D in a nutshell, and it's fantasy role-playing games in a nutshell.
That's actually a great answer, much better than I thought, because you're just gonna say I just love the item. No, it's actually indicative of exactly the thing you said, player creativity, and how a simple thing players can use and create all sorts of crazy applications. I do have some questions for you about the immovable rod. If I click it in the middle of a road and a full-on truck, full speed comes by, what's gonna happen? It's like the
I studied linguistics and English and creative writing. I am not a physics major. So whenever I say something about this, I am always corrected by someone from the sciences. But I go, like I say, I go Looney Tunes with it. I love it when it just does it, and maybe it'll, I don't know, split apart the train. It'll cause all kinds of problems. Probably, let's see. So if it's a I don't know. You said a train or a cart or something like kind of.
Something big and
Yeah,
fast.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, something big. It'll punch a hole in that for sure. It's not that the movable rod's not going anywhere. It's immovable. Yes, right. So yeah, probably punch a hole in that case, I would imagine. And so now you have a really powerful weapon if you use it correctly, right?
Yeah, it could be used as a weapon.
Yeah.
And what if you have like an immovable rod, but
Yeah.
underneath it you have Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, and Thor calls for his hammer. Who wins?
Oh, I thought you weren't going to throw me any tricky questions. Yeah,
Just
I'm going to
came to
go with
mind,
the
I don't know.
immovable rod. It's like, sorry, Thor.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Thor.
I have to stick with my
immovable
brand.
rod.
Yeah.
Yeah. The immovable rod is being controlled by the dungeon master. The Thor, I don't know, Thor's hammer is just just mythology. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe make a roll in that case. I don't know. It depends on what the story is. It depends on what the context. Do you want the players? Are the players on the side of Thor, or are the players against against Thor in this situation? I'm a pretty nice DM. I'm pretty nice to my players. I don't necessarily coddle them. They will, they could die. I tell them that, but I like it. I like it when they win. So if they're on Thor's side, I would probably let Thor win, and if they're against Thor, I would probably give it to the immovable rod.
Yeah.
Context, probably.
Another great answer, even though it was a surprise question. Hello to Paulina. We do have someone on chat. Thank you for joining us this early. And we have your link, our Instagram link. Go ahead, Paulina, and everybody watching us. Follow, check out your Iron's Instagram. Lots of cool stuff if you're a D&D fan and generally into fantasy and into storytelling. And also, I'm gonna put the same link on the description later on YouTube. Now let's move with how come you came, you had this idea of creating this type of entertainment reels, which every single reel is a little story behind it. So how come you came up with this idea? And yeah, let's talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's a great question. It was completely unplanned. At the beginning of this year, so I've been playing D&D and other tabletop role-playing games for 40 years, since 1986. I had the red box, and my parents gave it to me for Christmas, and I didn't know what it was. They didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a choose your own adventure with dice, which it kind of is. Yeah. But they knew I liked the cartoon back in the early 80s, so they bought it for me. It took me a while to find anyone who even knew what it was to play it. But eventually I did find some friends, and we did start playing it, and that was that. And so it's always been a part of my life. It's always been a way for me when I move to new places. I'm American, but I don't live in America. I've moved around a lot over my life, and role-playing games have been the one thing that's made it easy to find friends and to connect and to bond and to meet people and to see other points of view. So it's deeply personal to me. And so I got to the point this year where I just wanted to go on to social media and just connect with other people and see what happens. And so at first I was, there's a lot of kind of comedy memes. There are some very good ones. There are some very, very funny and talented content creators. I am not anywhere close to that level. I love jokes. I love telling jokes. I love hearing jokes, but I am not at the level of some of the comedy memes that are out there. So I just didn't think I could consistently produce that. And then I thought, well, I've been, dungeon mastering a long time. I could just give some DM advice, right? But there's a lot of good DM advice. Like I also started, if you go back at the very beginning, you'll see that I was kind of more of like kind of being a pundit and just sort of talking about how to DM. And one day I was kind of looking at my reels, and I was like, these are okay. They're getting better. But you know what? I'm not really saying anything new. I don't really have anything new to say. A lot of the advice out there is already good. I already agree with it. There's, it's like, I don't know what else to say. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a step back from it. I'm gonna look at it like this, right? Imagine that we're all potters. We're making pottery, right? And I want to talk to someone and teach them how to make pottery, a new pot. So I could sit there and I could explain the history of pottery. I could show them pictures of pottery. I could show them what makes a pot good. I could, show them a video of me turning the style and shaping the clay. But they will never get better until you give them the clay and have them sit down and make something for themselves. So you can give them all this, you can give all these dungeon masters all this advice all day long, but at the end of the day, they have to sit down at the table and there has to be a story for their characters to react to. And so I was like, I think that's what I could do. So I've got 40 years worth of story notes. I was like, okay, I'll just start mining that. And I was like, oh, I remember this one. This one was cool. Some of almost all the videos that I have up are ones that either I've played or someone I know personally has played, and I asked them if it was okay to put up. And yeah, so my thinking is the best thing I can do to help dungeon masters is just to give them an idea to run with. And I gave it a shot, and the first time I did that, it hit 10,000 views in 2 days. Yeah. And it was like I had been stuck. So it resonated, and I wasn't expecting it to be that successful. I'm very, 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 very happy it was. And so now I'm just doubling down on that. If that's what is resonating with people and then that's what they want to see, that's what I'm going to deliver, because that's what I can deliver the best.
I think you got the right recipe, because first of all, it's ideas that you actually have experienced and played, and this is like your personal thing. This is your personal and meaningful contribution to the community. All of us can start and say, don't split the party, don't kill the murder hobo, or whatever, the classical things, but it's what
Right.
we have our own personal experience that people are interested about. And I think you have the right angle, and numbers wise, I think you're the most the most celebrity, if I may say, that I have invited on my show yet. You're going great. And I think you're gonna do even much better if you keep being consistent, which you are.
Thank you.
You say like you're doing this for 40 years, so I'm guessing like this red box is D&D 1, basically first edition of D&D.
Yeah, I would say probably the where it really took off. So the red box I didn't get to play very much. It was very different back then. You would, you didn't even have a character name. You would just be like the elf. Like it wouldn't even be, So the game has deeply, deeply evolved in good ways. I think we can talk more about this later. But I think we're actually about to hit a golden age in TTRPGs in general. We can talk about why I think that. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think probably second edition is where it really took off for me. All my old school friends who are probably going to see this, you know who you are. Yeah, we played second edition quite a bit. We played a lot of third edition when it came out. And then by the time fourth edition came out, we'd all kind of gone our separate ways and haven't had, chances to play together. But I played with other people. So yeah, fifth edition, I'd probably say is probably the most that I've played, even though I'm going to tell you all secret. I actually really love fourth edition, and I would love to play fourth edition again.
Ooh, that's a controversial opinion.
Nobody agrees with me. Nobody agrees with me. There's like 100 people on Earth that probably agree with me about that. But I love fourth edition.
Oh, wow. So you actually played through all of the editions, which is not all people have played through all of them. Even though the first was more like Hero Quest, the board game, and less like what it is today. Right. Okay, fourth edition. This is very an interesting opinion. So they say it's wrong or right. Everybody has their own. But you also played lots of fifth. You say
Yeah, lots of fifth. Just because that's that's the modern thing. That's what everyone is playing, and so we always want to play. We always want to play what's in front of us these days. So yeah. And I like fifth edition too. So I'm not a person who complains about systems very much. Actually, I think I have friends who will talk to you for hours about the things that they don't like about, either D&D or some other system. I'm just like, it doesn't matter. I'm interested in the story. I'm interested in the characters. And if a rule sort of gets in the way of that, it's a TTRPG. You can ignore the rule. You can change it. There's no reason to ever let the rules get in the way of the story. And so that's kind of the approach that I've sort of evolved into these days. So yeah, any system really is fine. It's just whatever the players want to play.
Let's throw in another surprise question.
Okay.
And in your opinion, what does 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons does that other editions don't do?
I enjoy the tactical element of it. Because I think I came from the older vintage style of gaming. I really appreciate things like it had a lot of like everyone can do something interesting in every turn. It's the tactical maps. You have classes like the Warlord, which if you aren't thinking tactically, looks like a terrible class and doesn't seem very fun to play. But actually, once you get it onto the board and you move it around, I don't mind if a combat takes an hour and a half or 2 hours. I like that kind of stuff. I like thinking about all the little details. I like that it's just a style of play. It feels more like just back to the old roots of like you've got this big table and you've got this giant map and you've got this giant battle that goes on for a long time. Now, on the other hand, that doesn't mean that I don't like kind of more story-oriented systems. My other favorite is World of Darkness. Vampire, werewolf, mage. And I love those because you get into the characters. That's what the system is really, really meant for. And I always felt that D&D is for me, anyway. And what I enjoy the most out of it is the combat. And I just like thinking about all the little details. And 4th edition does that well. 5th edition is fine, but it strips that. For me, it stripped that down a little bit. So I don't know. Yeah, and it just depends on what group of players you have too. If you have a group of players that we all want to sit down and have this long combat, then you're gonna have a good time, and that's fine. It doesn't matter what the edition itself is so much. So, but like I said, there's not a lot of people like me. I fully admit that. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Doesn't bother me.
I haven't played 4th,
so
I don't know.
Oh, really?
But yeah, the way that you describe it, it sounds very, very interesting. When it came out, I remember a lot of people were comparing it with like MMOs, RPGs, like World of Warcraft and stuff.
Yeah.
And like the word was around that, oh, don't play 4th, it's like World of Warcraft, don't want to play that. And that's I think the word to mouth passed around about the 4th edition and had like this stain on it. But
yeah, that's right.
Everything deserves a chance, and things are coming about, like we have like this resurgence of old school essentials and Shadow Dark and going back basically to what 2nd was. I think the same thing will happen a few years with 3rd and 3.5, which like you're more of a superhero with tons of feats and tons of spells and tons of prestige classes. And then it might happen with 4th with more tactical play. And this is for the people that enjoy like classes like Warlord that you talked about. It sounds actually interesting.
Yeah, it's worth a shot. It's worth doing a one shot, and just expect the combats to take a very long time and be very tactical, and things like positioning, which squares you are in, really do matter. And so I get why people are not into that. It's easier to have wider appeal when you can just be a little bit more loose and flexible, and just use the theater of the mind to decide what the battlefield looks like. Also, it's just different styles of play. It's just, do you prefer to eat cheeseburgers or pizza? It doesn't mean that one is better than the other.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it.
No, that's definitely the right mindset. So you mentioned the golden age of TTRPGs, and something that I also like to think about, and I think personally that this golden age started with the quarantine and COVID and stuff, when people were locked in home. We saw like a full, not even resurgence, it's basically the dawn of VTTs. I think started with
that's right
after COVID. You could play with Skype, and Roll20 was around like 10 years before that. but it really skyrocketed
Yeah.
after that. But you also saw things like Stranger Things bringing it
That's right.
to the public view. Like I have a lot of friends that like, oh, you played D&D, the thing that they played in Stranger Things, and I'm like, wow, people
Right.
like know it from Stranger Things. And also
Right.
Critical Role and Matt Mercer, which is like
Yep.
theoretically even bigger brand than the actual Dungeons and Dragon is. The movie
Right.
D&D that released like a couple of years, the one with the super famous celebrity actors. It wasn't the first D&D movie, it was like a third or something, but still, all these things pointing, and the fifth edition, whatever your opinion might have, this is the most popular in terms of numbers edition that ever was.
Yeah, no doubt.
And people
No doubt.
are playing, and I have to mention also the rise of many indie TTRPGs. And people nowadays are playing a lot more TTRPGs than they ever did before. So for me, today is we are like in the beginning, the first steps of this golden age. For you, has that golden age started, or hasn't even it started yet?
Right. That's right. I totally agree. Things really did kick off with COVID. The audience went way wider. And the other thing to keep in mind is, YouTube or whatever has been around a long time now. So there could have been actual plays back then, but there weren't really. I think it really did start taking off with PAX, and Chris Perkins, I think, was running that. And then Critical Role came out, and then you've got Dimension 20. And so it became sort of this improv theater, which is just fun to watch. Like now you're seeing people who have been watching actual plays for years, but have never actually played D&D, right? So which is kind of a weird thing. And then there's also the other aspect to that is there's kind of this baseline of how to dungeon master, or how to play, how to run a game, how to be a player. And we never had that before. You would have your own table in your own local neighborhood with your own set of friends, and you were figuring it out. And if you had a play style, you didn't know if the people in the town next to you were playing it differently or not. You had no way of knowing. So you're just kind of independent and coming out with things, and sometimes it went well, sometimes it went badly. And but now there's this kind of like I said, a baseline of how the game is sort of intended to be played. And there's never going to be one right way to play it, but there's I think there's now this sort of global consensus of what a TTRPG experience should kind of be like. I think that's the first step, is that now it's much more accessible. It's easier for people to. I have people who I've known for my whole life that are just playing now for the first time after knowing them for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and they're like, hey, I think I'd like to try this D&D thing, and they love it. They love it. But D&D is the vanguard, but then there's this long tail of all these other systems, and this is, I think, the next phase of the golden age. This is what I think it's going to be. If you notice, Daggerheart came out recently, and I only hear good. I haven't played it, and I really want to, just to give it a try. To be honest, I haven't watched Critical Role very much. I have a hard time watching actual plays because I feel like I want to be there playing it. It's the same thing with like sports. Like I'm a basketball. I played basketball back when I was a kid a lot, and so when it's hard to watch basketball because I just feel like I want to be on the court. And it's the same thing with actual plays. I just feel too much like I would rather just be playing it myself, or at least thinking about what my next adventure is. But let me get back to where my main point here.
The golden age.
So my main point is, so the thing is, so Daggerheart has come out, and this is what I've noticed, is all these channels, YouTube, all the other social media places, people have only been talking about D&D this whole time. And the reason is one of the big reasons is that's what brings in the audience. That's what brings in the viewers. If you put D&D in your title, or you put your tagline, you will get viewers. So it's kind of this self-fulfilling, like, you have to talk about D&D, and by talking about D&D, you have to talk about D&D. So it just keeps going around in this like algorithm circle, right? Suddenly it's different. Now if you watch all these other I could list off all the YouTubers that I watch, all the big ones, but I watch a lot of small channels too. Now they're suddenly admitting that other games even exist. Like they didn't even talk about it before. So I think even if you don't play Daggerheart, something has cracked in the kind of mind of the community where it's okay to give a new system a try. And I can't wait. I think, and it's the same thing with all the groups that I play with. We're ready to, as soon as we finish our D&D campaigns, we are trying new systems. I have one group that I run where we're going to do one shots every single month of a new system, just to get a taste for it. And then if we find one that we really like, we might run a longer campaign. But right now the appetite is just try all these. We realized, that there's all these amazing games out there, and new ones are coming out. Pay attention to Kickstarter. There's all kinds of great games coming out of that too. So this is where we're going. I think D&D will always be around, and I'll always play it. I'm not going to stop playing D&D. But now in our mental space, now there's room for all these other games. And I think people are going to be more adventurous in trying it. So if you're an independent TTRPG maker, or you're thinking about doing it, this is the time to do it, because people are going to pay attention to you now more than they ever would have before.
Oh, that's like a perfect answer. And obviously, I personally, I am biased because I am an indie TTRPG creator, so I want things to shift towards people not thinking that if you want to play an RPG, you have to play Dungeons & Dragons. Yes, it is the perfect, how do you call it, like getaway drug, or like entry-level drug, something like it's an expression. Not that RPGs are drugs or anything in a way, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Well, but yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I would like, I would like people to disassociate I'm playing TTRPGs with like attack opportunity, or like third level fireball, or whatever. It's like super popular with what D&D is about. And you mentioned earlier the Worlds of Darkness series, and I'm also a huge fan. And for me, what they did, they did like a great service to the hobby moving forward, because Dungeons & Dragons, which was like the #1 game and kind of still is, was all about tactics and combat and fantasy and dungeon crawling and many other things. But when, for example, the Storyteller Companions, which I have it over there, of Vampire the Masquerade came out, it didn't also, which is like for the DMs, the GMs, storytellers, name them as you will. It wasn't all about traps and how to surprise the other players or random encounters. It was about how do you deal with a problem player? How do you deal with someone who is always late? How do you deal with someone who interrupts other people? How do you set up atmosphere and feeling? And these are the things that really improved me personally as a GM, even though I applied the same things to D&D. Let's move on to the next question that I have in mind.
Okay.
I maybe skip this one. We will go back to the Immovable Rod after this one.
No worries.
But so I have like taken inspiration, because I think it's a nice transition, taking inspiration from the Storyteller's Handbook for my own personal game, which I'm not going to promo here. I came up with like a narrator's chapter, which includes all the tips and tricks from the very basic stuff to the most advanced storytelling techniques that I can think of, into a chapter for this book. And I would like one day, I've also had this idea so long in my mind, and I was thinking I will start this summer, and then I have you as a guest, and now it's a perfect time to ask and then hear your advice and then move forward. What advice would you give to GMs who want to try their own GM tips or ideas, tips and tricks type of series and turn them into reels, because you are the best who has done it? So what's
that's way too nice. Thank you for saying that.
So,
I don't know. Let me recover from that compliment. So if you're a maker, this is what I said. I think I kind of said this earlier too. Hang on a second. Let me get that. is you know d- the advice that we give needs to be concrete. It needs to be applicable, directly applicable. You need the kind of advice we need to be giving is something that is easy to remember for the dungeon master, because if you give them abstract ideas, they're just kind of juggling around in their head when they're actually there at the table with their players. They have to pay attention to what the players are saying and doing. They have to try and remember the rules. They have to try and remember the story. So if you've got these kind of abstract pieces of advice, they're not going to remember it. It's just, if they're not an experienced DM, it's something that you have to, it's a skill, it's a craft that you have to practice. So it's just like learning any other skill. You have to give them practical tips. Like if I'm trying to teach someone how to play the guitar, what's the best? I mean, one of the best things you can do with them is right from the start is pick one song that is really easy to play and just focus on that. Don't worry about music theory. Don't worry about all these other chords. Just pick a song that has like 3 chords. Pick a strumming pattern that is really easy and just have them play that song, because that's what's fun. That's why they're at the table. So the more concrete things you can do, it doesn't have to be story advice, but it can be just like, here's an idea for a magic item. Here's an idea for a monster. But give them very, very clear, concrete tips about like how that thing would interact in the world. So yeah, I think that's the best thing. I think that's why my videos started resonating, is because they're relatively concrete compared to a lot of the. And I'm not denigrating any of the advice out there, because you do need to, when you're not at the table, you do need to think about those larger issues. You need to have a frame of mind. But that's like, I think maybe the way to look at it is that's strategy, but when you're at the table, there's tactics. And so I think there's not a lot of tactical advice for, here, we're at this table right now, this is what's happening, boom. How do I handle a perception check? How do I narrate when someone fails a perception check? Really, really neat, just really easy stuff to remember. And I think that will help increase the range and diversity and variety of advice that's being given to new DMs.
You said that you.
I think that was a lot. Sorry.
No, that was great. You said that you actually found your own voice and your own niche when you started drawing from your own experiences and stuff you've run at the table or people around you did. But you also mentioned that you started with like general GM tips or something like that. I don't think I have seen your first videos. To be fair.
I was thinking to do that at first, and then, like I said, I thought, there are people who are better at explaining the advice than I am. There are people who, we all dungeon masters, game masters, narrators, storytellers, we all have our own kind of character sheet where we're all kind of good at different things. I think I have higher stats in combat tactics probably, but probably just adventure hooks is probably what I'm best at, and so that's what I made my combat about. I am connected with some people on social media who are incredible at really understanding the background and characters and their motivations and how to bring out that level of immersion. And that's something that after all this time I still need to work on. I still need to be better at that. There are people who are really good at just describing things, just narrating what a mystery wall looks like. And I'm okay at that, but I could get a lot better. So lean into what you already are confident about, lean into what you are already good at. You don't have to give all the advice about all aspects of DMing. I think it's easier to just pick one thing and just really, really nail it, rather than trying to do everything. If you're good at player management, if you're good at world building, just lean into that just one thing and get really sharp with that, and I think you're going to find an audience.
It just gave me a cool idea of like playing a TTRPG, which every player is a DM. You give them like a sheet where it has
That's
like dots,
right.
like World of Darkness dots, and have like
Right.
role playing, voice acting, ideas, describing the room, dealing with
Right.
tact and soft skills, and you can be the
Right.
perfect at everything. You have to spread your character seed,
Yeah, you
and
can't.
that's
Yeah,
true
you're not.
because
Nobody's good at anything.
yeah, because everybody brings something to the table, and someone will be
Right.
great at descriptions, but bad at not that great. Shouldn't say bad, not great at tactical combat. Whereas someone, always forgets the name of their own NPCs or whatnot.
Right.
So, we only have so much XP to spend on our own character sheet.
Right.
But yeah, I love this idea of thinking. So, you've given us a lot of cool and not cool. Cool is a cool word, but you have given like a lot of immersive, like stories. It's not you transcend GM tips. It's like actual ideas that you can put into your one shot or a campaign. Which ones? Tell me a couple of your very very favorites.
Okay. Yeah, I am. Okay, so just a little background to that. I am an 80s kid. And if you are an 80s kid in the United States and you got to stay up late watching TV, you watched things like from the 60s, like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits and the original Star Trek. And in all of those shows like that, they were explorers, and they would go to a place, and the old Doctor Who's too. Now that I'm thinking, now coming back to me, they would go to a new place, and something weird was going on. So even now, I have, a creepy village with a dark secret. Anytime that is the story, I'm in. Like, those are always my favorite. Sometimes I like the political intrigue, but mainly, or the strange magic item that does something something weird. But anytime there's a creepy village that has a dark secret, and the players have to figure it out and react to it. I think one of my favorite ones recently was the Feast Father, which is that there's been all these villages who survived like a really rough winter, and except one of them has thrived. So the other villages don't like this, so they hire the players to go investigate. Well, why is everyone not starving to death? And these people, and they get to the village, they're not farming, they're not hunting, and somehow they have a feast every night, and they invite the players in, come have a feast with us. And of course, it turns out that what's gone down is that the villagers were also desperate during the winter, but their solution was to capture a giant forest spirit that takes the form of a boar. And they have it chained. They got some corrupted druids to help them, and they chain down this giant boar, and they chop the meat off of it, and and then it grows back every day. And that, of course, that's from Greek mythology, if you know, like a little bit of the regrowing every day, Prometheus, right?
Yeah.
So I get a lot of inspiration from that. But they come down, and then the boar recognizes that it's not a villager, and he's like, you gotta help me get out of here. And so now the players have something to think about. So another thing that I always try to be really careful about is not say what the answer to the situation is. Your players are always going to be smarter than you. They're up because it's 4 heads versus 4 to 5, 6 heads versus 1. So any situation that you pose to them, they're going to find a solution that's more ingenious than you probably figured out. So anytime I'm designing something, I have a few possible resolutions in mind, but I never try and say this is the right way to do it. I just let them figure it out and run with it. So my players burned that village to the ground and befriended the forest spirit, because my players are usually good aligned or chaotic good types. So they burned that poor village, even though the village was just trying to survive too. I mean, there was some moral complexity, but it ended up in a burned down village and a freed boar spirit. Yeah.
No, that's a perfect representation of chaotic good and
Yeah.
allowing as a DM. The thing that we talked about, the stats of the DM, improvisation is obviously a very, very important skill to have close to maxed
Right.
out. Close to maxed out when you're distributing your points, because
Right.
yeah, your players are always gonna do weird stuff. Not necessarily always the best ideas, but definitely ideas that you
Never.
haven't thought
Often
of.
terrible.
Yeah, often like it's super easy thing. Why you have to make it so complex?
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
you still have to honor their decisions and try to make them part of the story, because they are part of the story.
Yeah.
It's all what
That's right. They are
it's
the
all,
story.
they are
Yeah.
the story. This is all what's about. Um, I also love how you can deliver those same feeling with your reels in live format. I haven't seen
Oh.
if you made this one in a short. Oh, if I haven't seen it, I didn't remember it right away. But it was great listening to you. You straight went my imagination to this place.
Oh.
So it's
Thank
great.
you.
So
Thank you very much.
what's next for the Movable Road?
So I this again not particularly planned. I just wanted to kind of see where fate would take me, and so I think one I try and read and respond to every single comment that I get on every single video, whether it's just to say thank you. A lot of time, my favorite comments are the ones that improve on my ideas. So if it said, "Oh, it could do this instead," like, yeah, you should. That's awesome. And every single video, someone, at least one or two ideas are take that idea that I presented and make it even better. So those are always my favorite ideas. But I have noticed that a lot of people are asking for handouts with like notes. What kind of stat blocks am I using for this kind of thing? And so what I've decided to do, and I'm in the process of doing, getting ready for this right now, is I'm gonna make a YouTube channel, and I'm gonna put longer explanations. So right now I'm gonna just do the ones the encounter ideas that seem the most successful. I'm gonna write out some encounter notes in PDF, but I'm also gonna take about a longer form, maybe 10 minutes or so, to just kind of go through all the other things and just get more in depth with it, so that if someone a really new DM wanted to run it, and there's a lot of details that they wouldn't be able to necessarily think of themselves on the fly, just go more into it. And I'm probably going to make some maps also to hand out with it. So like if you are doing the one I just talked about, like the Feast Father, I want to have like a village map in case you want to burn down the village and you have to take everybody out. So like I want to just have like one map, one page, maybe one or two pages of notes, and attach that to the videos. And then the second thing I want to do, because and actually you gave me this idea, because like I said, I've been watching you for a while, is I think we need to have more dialogue about other games. And so my main focus is one is just talking to other professional DMs. They are they're DMing every single day, and they're making money off of it because their skill is at that level. I want to know what they're like. I want to know what ideas they have, because their experience level is, I've been playing for 40 years, but their experience level, if you add up actual time DMing, probably more than mine. And they're dealing with a very wide range of players. So I want to hear what they have to say. So I like talking to really experienced professional DMs. But the other big one is I want to introduce new TTRPGs that I have actually sat down and played, rather than doing like a first impressions, or I just read this book and here's what it is. I want to basically talk about it after I've played it with a group of people, whether it's online or whether it's in person. I want to run a one shot or maybe a 3-shot of something and then turn around and then have a debrief where all the players who are also in it, we all sit down and talk about what we thought about the game. And so the main thing is, I'm to be honest, I'm probably not going to talk about D&D very much specifically. A lot of my encounter ideas will be fantasy, of course, but you could take the same idea and play it in Daggerheart, or another game that I really like that's coming, that's almost at point, almost fully released, is DC-20. And I'm really looking forward. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, please take a look, because that's right up my alley for the way combat and tactics and things work. It's really cool. So I want to play all these games with real people and talk about it in a really genuine way and say, this is what it was like for us at the table. And that helps that sort of dialogue where when you think of TTRPGs, you don't necessarily have to think of D&D. You can think about all these other things. So yeah, I want to play your system soon too. Whenever you're ready, hand it over, and I will be happy to be happy to play test it with my groups.
I would absolutely love to. I think if you take the same enthusiasm and consistency that you have with your reels into YouTube, short 5-10 minute videos with explaining the idea, like that you mentioned, this Feast of the Father, you've called it, this idea with the spirit and the winter.
Yeah, that's right.
So you have give them a few maps, give them a few positions where the spirit will be hiding or imprisoned rather, and which NPCs, like the evil mayor or whoever is behind it, or some present a few characters there, the gray side, we just want to eat, we don't do anything wrong. Give all this all these dilemmas to your players, but also, as I said, each of your reels can be played as a one shot. And I've seen some of the comments that said, oh, I actually played this today and it went great.
Yeah.
And I thought, these are also amazing comments to have. So if you turn us to this format with the description, a few PDFs with some handouts, as you said, I think it's gonna go great. It's gonna help a lot of new players to make their own one shot. I've seen this. And as you said, while they will try to play it, two things are gonna happen. They will have even better ideas, and because they will build upon what you built. And second, their players are gonna mess everything up. They're gonna have to improvise.
Right. It's no getting around that. Death, taxes, and player bad ideas are the three constants of the universe.
Well, that was very fun, Aaron. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you have amazing plans for the future. You can involve me to everything you have in mind. I will be delighted to return the favor, but I wholeheartedly enjoyed it. You gave me a lot of cool ideas and a lot of enthusiasm and courage for the future. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. It was great, and I look forward to talking to you again, and just staying connected and seeing where this all is going to go. So yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, I thank everyone for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and give a like, a comment, a special comment what you've enjoyed from our talk today. Maybe you comment about 4th edition, maybe you comment about something else.
Yeah, come at me, bro. I'll talk about 4th edition all day.
And most importantly, check out Immovable Rod on Instagram, TikTok, coming out on YouTube. Where can we find you?
Those are the two. Yeah, so TikTok and Instagram, immovable.rod. The YouTube is going to be, I'm aiming for September 1st, and so I'm on track to do that. So, and so if anyone follows me on Instagram or TikTok, there will be announcements on those platforms. TikTok's is weird about, you can't say the word YouTube or whatever, but it'll be clear. It'll be clear.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they get weird. That's why people say that you can't say Twitch. You have to say the purple app, because I've heard that or the red app. I think the red app means YouTube. I don't know.
Yes, yeah.
But what's weird is you can put a YouTube link in your profile. So why are they playing this game with us? Just let us say whatever we want.
That's weird, yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, I'll put the link to YouTube up there as well.
So-
So it should be really easy to find.
So once again, thank you for joining us, and everybody
thank you.
go and check and follow Immovable.Rod everywhere. Thank you much for joining us, and above all, stay legit and stay meta.